Sunscreen's Impact on Seed Germination by Kaitlyn and Tiffany. Sunscreen is a common household item used by millions of people worldwide to protect human skin from exposure to the sun. It only takes 1 teaspoon of sunscreen to protect a person's whole face. As the level of SPF increases, it allows for more protection against the sun. Negative effects of sunscreen. When we shower or swim, sunscreen can wash off and enter our waterways. It can also affect growth of algae and algae photosynthesis. Sunscreen can cause bleaching, damaging DNA, and kill and deform coral. And sunscreen can damage reproductive system and the immune system in a sea urchin. Why test Banana Boat sunscreen? Banana Boat is a brand of sunscreen that started up in the 1970s. The purpose for this brand of sunscreen was to not feel greasy, but to feel fun, according to the Banana Boat website. The website also claims to be reef-friendly. However, there was a lawsuit against the company for false and misleading information due to the product containing octocrylene and ovobenzone, 2 chemicals that cause the bleaching of coral, according to classaction.org. Mine and Tiffany's hypothesis is that the higher level of concentration of sunscreen that the radish seeds are exposed to, the fewer number of seeds will germinate. The experiment equipment that you need for this lab is Banana Boat sunscreen, 7 petri dishes, graduated cylinder, paper towel, distilled water, scale, radish seeds, and permanent markers. Experiment outline. Step 1. Gather 7 petri dishes and label them 0%, 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%, and 3%. Step 2. Place 5 seeds on a small sheet of paper towel into the petri dish labeled 0%. Step 3. Measure out 15 milliliters of water and add to the 0% petri dish. Step 4. Place 5 seeds in paper towel into the petri dish labeled 0.5%. Step 5. Use scale to weigh out 0.5 grams of Banana Boat sunscreen and add it to the 0.5% petri dish. Step 6. Measure out 15 milliliters of water, then add to the 0.5% petri dish. Step 7. Repeat steps 4 through 6 for petri dishes 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3%. Increase the amount of sunscreen by 0.5 grams when added to the next level of concentration. Step 8. When finished with steps 4 through 7, place all the petri dishes into a dark area. Step 9. Record observations for 5 days. In this section of our presentation, we will go over the daily changes that both myself, Tiffany, and Kaitlyn saw throughout our experiments. Starting off with my results, on the first day of the experiment, I saw no germination as to be expected. By day 2, I noticed the first signs of germination in the controlled 0% solution. By day 3, I was seeing germination in solutions that contain sunscreen at 0%, 0.5%, and 1%. On day 4, I saw a large increase in the number of controlled seeds sprouting and also saw 1 seed sprout in the 1.5% solution. On the final day of the experiment, I noticed all of the controlled seeds had sprouted, but none of the seeds in my highest level of sunscreen solution, 3%, showed any germination. Kaitlyn's first day of the experiment was very similar to mine with no germination on day 1. Day 2, however, in her experiment, she noticed a large increase in her controlled 0% solution. She had 4 seeds germinate and 1 seed germinate in her 0.5% solution. On day 3, Kaitlyn saw more germination in the previous solutions, but surprisingly, there was no germination in solution containing 1%, but there was germination in the 0.5% and 2% solutions. Both had 1 seed germinate. On day 4, we did see some germination in the 1% solution with 1 seed germinating.
To wrap up Kaitlyn's experiment, on day 5, the only change from the previous day was the 3% solution had 1 seed germinate. The first graph is a depiction of Tiffany's results over the 5-day span of the experiment. On day 1, she saw no germination, but by day 5, she was seeing germination in all of the solutions except the 3% solution. The second graph is a depiction of Kaitlyn's results over the course of the experiment. On day 1, she also was seeing no germination in any of the solutions, but by day 5, she was seeing germinations in all of the solutions. The largest difference between the two graphs is that in day 2, Tiffany only saw 1 seed germinate in the control and Kaitlyn had 4 seeds germinate. But as the days went on, their results were more aligned. The only difference was Tiffany saw no germination in a 3% solution and Kaitlyn had 1 seed germinate. This chart shows the overall results of our experiment. The control solution had the most seeds germinate, with 10 seeds showing germination by day 5. The lowest germination was in the 3% solution, which contained the highest level of sunscreen. And we only had 1 seed germinate.
By day 5, we both saw germination in all levels of exposure, but the control of our experiment, which had 0% of sunscreen, had the most germination, with all 10 seeds from our experiments germinating, while our highest level of exposure only had 1 seed germinate. Our results supported our hypothesis that as levels of sunscreen exposure increased, the number of seeds germinating decreased. And here's a little side comment from me, Kaitlyn. I was really shocked to see any sort of germination with any of the higher numbers of sunscreen, especially with the 2.5, and 3 grams of sunscreen. I was really shocked. Alternative options for using sunscreen: coconut oil, shea butter, and UPF clothing. Coconut oil is a skin protector containing vitamin E. It also promotes skin hydration. This oil also contains lauric acid, which helps protect the skin from 20% of the sun's UV rays. Relying on coconut oil is only good for certain environments that don't receive as much UV exposure. Shea butter has an SPF of 3 to 4 and contains vitamins A and E. Shea butter is very moisturizing and aids in prevention of wrinkles. However, shea butter should be applied after being in the sun. It cannot be used by itself as sunscreen. UPF stands for ultraviolet protection factor. It indicates how much UV rays can pass through fabric to reach the skin. The more coverage of your skin, the better it is to keep your skin protected from the sun. It is recommended to use UPF clothing option over the other options, but coconut oil and shea butter are still very good for the skin and should be used. Here are all the website sources that I used while researching and gathering information for mine and Tiffany's presentation. Thank you so much for listening to Tiffany and I talk about our experiments.